In part 1, I established that the term pornography originated well before Jesus' time, and that Jesus had numerous encounters with women who had less than a stellar reputation. One such encounter is recorded in Luke 7. There, a woman with a reputation crashed the dinner party of a religious leader, and with the tears of repentance washed Jesus' feet, and then anointed them with exquisite perfume. In this video, I will address how the temptation of pornography is often an attempt to escape an unpleasant reality. It is a temptation promising to flood the body with feel-good chemicals. This temptation promises to satisfy the longing to be known, accepted, and loved. God created sex as a physical expression of being truly known, accepted, and loved. Thus, it is not surprising that pornography and just sex promises this robust sense of being loved without the risk of being truly known. Pornography yields about the same satisfaction as that picture of a gourmet carrot cake layered with cream cheese frosting that is printed on the cake mix box. Both are low calorie, low risk, and less fulfilling. There are certain moods when pornography becomes a strong temptation. Feeling lonely, bored, or insignificant are ideal moods for a porn escape. A perfect storm may be after a relationship has crashed and burned. But the ultimate trap is when one condemns themselves for being addicted to porn and yet keeps returning to it, even after conceding that the promised satisfaction has ghosted them. Their shame argues that there will never be an escape, never freedom. Hopefully, if you are there, you will soon discover that that too is a lie. There is freedom, there is forgiveness, and there is restoration. Let's go back to my suggestion that pornography is often an attempt to escape an unpleasant reality. I hate to break it to you, but in life, unpleasant realities are the norm, not the exception. So what did Jesus do when faced with unpleasant circumstances? He chose to suffer through them. Did you hear me? When Jesus faced unpleasant events in his life, he chose to suffer through them. This is not something I always do well. Personally, I often surrender to comfort food like dark chocolate. Ironically, I find myself not resisting while I'm writing this, and thus feel like I'm disqualifying myself. But choosing to endure, to suffer through these discomforts, is not an odd concept. Ask any athlete, dedicated student, or one committed to losing body weight. When the purpose is clear, the pain may be readily accepted, but mostly we whine and grudgingly acknowledge the progress towards the goal. So what would Jesus do with the temptation to escape the unpleasant events of life? And therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not yet given your lives in your struggle against sin. Some things to note here. First, we are not alone in this race. The chapter just before this one speaks of a number of men and women who had endured the race God set before them. Today, there are thousands more running the race God has designed for them, facing many of the same obstacles and temptations to escape the pain. Second, God has set the course of the race we are to run. Third, Jesus is the leader for those running the race God has set before them, and we need to keep our eyes on him. Fourth, he endured. He endured the cross, the shame, hostility from sinful people, weariness, and wanting to quit. He endured because he knew his purpose and reward, and because he also has run that race before us. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things just as we are, yet without sin. Therefore, let's approach the throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace for help at the time of our need. Remember that the temptations in your life are no different from what others have experienced. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. My friends, you are not alone in your struggle with the temptation of pornography. Pornography, drugs, and video games are all common temporary escapes, but all turn up empty compared to enduring and winning the love, acceptance, and peace that lasts. Remember, God has promised the resources to resist the temptation and press through the unpleasant feelings, even those you have created by yielding to temptations. Here's my call to action. Will you choose to follow Jesus and accept the encouragement of your teammates? If so, ask Jesus for help and find a group of others whom you may join in running the race God has set before you.